And if someone was trying to start a business and do it with a family member as a partner or something like that, come talk to me, because I've got a lot of learnings that I will tell you. For probably the first 2 or 3 years, he wanted to fire me every day and I wanted to quit every day. So if you're going to start a business, the first thing you really need to do, you don't need to go raise money, you don't need an LLC, none of that. You need to find the mentor that is someone that you're going to go work with for at least 18 months, that's an expert in the field in which you want to work and learn. My greatest work that I do is with my kids and with my family, right? That is your legacy.
Welcome to the Jeff Glines Show, where success isn't just about the destination, but the journey. Behind every success story lies untold challenges and lessons. I'm Jeff Glines, and I'm here to take you behind the scenes with business leaders and entrepreneurs. We'll explore the real stories behind the success, the challenges, the late nights, and the breakthroughs. If you're looking for raw, real insights into the world of business, you're in the right place. Subscribe to the Jeff Glines Show on your favorite podcast platform. Join us for new episodes every week, and let's dive into what it really takes to succeed. I'm excited to welcome Mark Parrish, the mastermind behind 18 McDonald's franchises here in Utah, with plans to expand even further. Living in picturesque Washington, Utah, near Bryce and Zion National Parks, Mark enjoys life with his wife of 18 years, Ashley, and their 5 energetic children, Caden 16, Kayla 14, Kylie 11, Connor 9, and Camry 6. Mark's journey is as diverse as his interest. He was an Eagle Scout and former Army National Guard member. He served in Iraq and spent 2 years as a Christian missionary in Brazil, fluent in Portuguese, que bom, Spanish, and English. Mark loves public speaking and mentoring his employees, fostering a strong community with his McDonald's family. When he's not managing his restaurants, you'll find Mark playing futsal, flying his airplane, or diving into real estate, owning over 40 properties with ambitions to expand. So welcome to the show, Mark.
Hey, thanks,
glad to have you. So, I got to get first things out. McDonald's. I actually love McDonald's.
Dude.
My kids kind of make fun of me because they're kind of the era of like Cafe Rio and just, but like that's nostalgic to me. McDonald's, there's nothing better than a cheeseburger. And just that flavor, there's just nothing different than that McDonald's cheeseburger.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me, and my family gets sick. Well, let me pull that back a little bit. My wife gets sick of it because we'll go out of town, and I eat McDonald's 7 to 10 times a week. So it is my go-to. I love the food. I love the brand. I know when I walk into McDonald's what I'm going to get. Yeah. I know it's safe. I know the stuff that they go through, and so I'm like, yeah, let's go eat at McDonald's. And then I always know the price is going to be reasonable. My wife, she'll be like, man, we've been in Hawaii for a week now. Can we eat somewhere else besides McDonald's? And I give in once in a while, but I'll ask my kids, guys, where do you want to go? McDonald's. And I'm like, I have the best kids in the world. But really, the food is great. I love the brand. I love almost everything about it, for sure.
I secretly, I'm kind of the closet McDonald's eater. I'll just go over and get my sausage egg McMuffin.
Well, we have the best sausage
with a Coke Zero, and there's nothing. You just wash it. It's good stuff.
It's great. Well, we have the best Coke. We have the best sausage. We have the best fries.
Yes,
there's some things that we have at McDonald's that are amazing.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that people ask me often. It's like, man, do you guys have some special formula of Coke? And I'm like, well, no. But there is stuff that we do that makes it a little different, and it really comes down. Since I brought it up, let me go into it a little bit. It's about the water treatment. Yeah, like a lot of places, you realize you're getting the flavor of the water now mixed with the syrup, and that's what's going to change or make the flavor of whatever drink you're doing. And then it's also about the temperature. So we filter, and then we reverse osmosis. We have several filters. Then we reverse osmosis the water, and then we mix it at 34 degrees. And I say you have to mix it at 34 degrees because as soon as you mix it, you start losing carbonation. The warmer the water, the more quickly that carbonation is going to burn off, which then changes the flavor and the feel inside of your mouth. Yeah. So do we have a special formula? We do, but it's just about taking care of the water. Yeah. And that's why it tastes the same at every single McDonald's, because we all treat the water the same instead of just getting the natural flavor from that community.
It definitely is. Yeah, it's almost like you could sell that. Maybe you try to sell that type of filtering and stuff.
It's really easy. Anybody can do it. They're just not willing to pay the money because it's expensive. Those filters are expensive, and there's the maintenance, and there's no difference. They buy the same syrup. They just
Yeah.
Don't spend the money to treat the water.
And your drink's probably cheaper than the other ones, you know.
Well,
volume, but you know, this is a business podcast, and I want to just kind of touch and kind of pick your brain a little bit. I know that you speak at the university and you speak to, you know, different business groups and stuff. So I really want to pick your brain and help our audience gain some value from this interview, so they can, you know, learn something about their business. Maybe they're going to be starting a business, maybe they're running a business, and things like that. So I want to kind of get your insight and pick your brain. So
no, I love it.
Can you share a story of how you got started in McDonald's franchise business and what attracted you to this industry?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story, but everybody has an interesting story. I started McDonald's when I was 14 years old. It was one of two jobs. So I was then the paper boy, just like you see back in the old movies out of the 80s, you know, riding your bike around, you got the bag on the front, the bag on the back, and you're chucking newspapers, trying to get it onto the front porch. That was one of my jobs. And then I was working at McDonald's. And McDonald's was tough. I was a late bloomer. So at the age of 14, I'm taking orders in the drive-thru, and it was embarrassing because I was in Nebraska, and they were very polite and courteous people. So at the end of the order, you know, talking through the speaker, they'd be like, "Thank you, ma'am." And I'm like, "Oh, gosh, I hate this." Like, they're going to come up and see that I'm just some little boy, you know, trying to, anyway. But that was an amazing thing. And at the time, I never would have thought McDonald's was going to be my career or something that I was doing today. As I kept going through McDonald's, I just worked up through every single position. So crew trainer, shift manager, assistant manager, general manager, area supervisor, right? And every position all the way up to the top. And it was interesting because I left McDonald's probably 4 or 5 times. And every time when I left and I was doing something else, that came to a conclusion. And it's like, at the same time, a door opened at McDonald's and said, "Hey, this position, one that you've had that was the highest level you'd ever been at, or the next above it, is open. Do you want to take it?" And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I have nothing else. Let's go do it. So when I went on my mission, when I went to Iraq, you know, I spent a year and a half there. You know, I went and did door-to-door sales for a little bit. Every time I came back, it's like, "Hey, this position just opened up at McDonald's. Is it something you'd like to jump back into?" And at the time, not knowing the next step, it's like, well, let's go to what's familiar. Let's go to a place that you've already garnered success. And so I'd go back to McDonald's. And little did I know, here I am today, and it is my bread and butter. It is my favorite thing that I do by far.
That's all. So I know that your dad owns some franchise. Did you guys like buy him separately, or did your dad kind of get you into the business, or how did that all work out?
So and that's a really interesting thing. And if someone was trying to start a business and do it with a family member as a partner or something like that, come talk to me, because I've got a lot of learnings that I want to share with you to save you a lot of strength.
Share one that.
Well, let's start with the history, and then maybe we'll dive into something. So my dad started McDonald's when he was 16 years old. So he was living out in Georgia. Some missionaries of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints came, found his family. They got baptized. Boom, they moved to Salt Lake. So my dad worked his butt off his entire life. He became a McDonald's owner-operator after working for McDonald's for 10 years. So once he did that, he was able to get up to 5 McDonald's restaurants by himself. Wow. And that's when I committed to start doing McDonald's full-time. It's like, all right, I'm going to start doing this. And then we were able to build up to now this 18. And I will tell you, for probably the first 2 or 3 years, he wanted to fire me every day and I wanted to quit every day. Like, the amount of pain and suffering that came from working was immense. But I couldn't do it. He couldn't fire me because there was the family, you know, implications that would come from it. And I didn't want to quit because of the family implications. So we both just kind of bore through it. We're just like, shoot, we're just going to have to deal with each other because we're both very strong personalities. The greatest thing that happened was when we bought these restaurants in St. George, because we were living in Ephraim, 3.5 hours north of St. George, and I was able to move and have some separation from him physically, which then led to everything else. So I was able to do my own, run my own, be a part of my own, and he stayed up there and stayed with those 5 in the middle. But until then, oh my gosh, dude, that was extremely hard. And he'll agree. He won't hold back either. He'll be like, dude, I hated you. I loved you as a son. I hated you as an employee, because we obviously, everybody is going to want to do something a little different than each other, right? We all look at the NBA or a soccer game or a football game and said, wow, if I was the coach, I would have done this. everybody would have done it their own way. Everybody would have done it differently. So for you as an authority figure to look at one of your kids and be like, I think you need to do it this way. Of course you think you should, but me as a kid, so anyway, that was difficult and challenging. And then you get to all the aspects of, as I started the St. George restaurants, and that was my area, and then I had opportunities for growth, and he didn't, and so as things went along, it was always difficult to decide who should get this piece of a pie, who should get this, and then to separate the financials and how to help each other out. And now today we even have my brother who has 3 restaurants in central Utah. And so defining the roles and responsibilities has always been a challenge. But luckily, over a little bit of time, we've been able to figure it out. One of the things I know is you have to have one person who's ultimately responsible and ultimately the last big decision maker. One person has to be the majority holder that says, thank you for giving me all the advice and the counsel, and then they make the decision. And that was one of the hardest parts when my dad had to pass that mantle on to me. And since him passing it on to me, obviously there's been a whole lot less conflict. He still will give me counsel from time to time. Sometimes it's very strong. And most of the time, though, he's just like, I've done my time, but here's my advice, son. If you take it, great. If not, no big deal. Which is one of the greatest things about my dad. He has always been a mentor and a leader and a teacher. But now he's even said, and this has probably been like eight plus years, that he's kind of stepped aside and said, this is your show. You enjoy it. You go do what you want to do, but make sure that you also help and take care of your brother. I mean, that's been one of his things he's always asked.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, you can see that from a parent's perspective, right? Because it's sometimes that's you hear family businesses can be a little bit rocky or whatever. So what advice would you give to somebody that's thinking, hey, I want to start this new business. I need a partner. And, some people kind of jump into it without thinking about it, creating agreements and things like that. I've seen that happen over and over again.
Right.
And then they start making money, and then now it just blows up in their face.
Yeah.
So what would be your counsel to a new entrepreneur starting a business and possibly bringing on a partner, or how could they do it without a partner or with a partner, or what does that look like?
Oh, no, it's great.
From your background.
Yeah, because a lot of people think that in order to start the business, the first thing they need to do is create an LLC, and then they need to get some money, and then they need to start their product or whatever it is. Yeah. And they get the cart way ahead of the horse.
Jeff Glines here, and before we get back to the show, I just want to share a quick tip for all you business owners. If you haven't heard of dual pricing when it comes to payment processing, then I want to share my free guide on how to eliminate 100% of your credit card fees in your business. And I'll share a link in the description. Go ahead and click on that link. You're not going to want to miss this, and you can thank me later. Back to the show.
A lot of people think that in order to start the business, the first thing they need to do is create an LLC, and then they need to get some money, and then they need to start their product or whatever it is. Yeah. And they get the cart way ahead of the horse, because really what you need to do is you need to know how to create the systems, routines, and processes, which is what we learn at McDonald's. That's what we're all about, right? Yeah. Everywhere you go, the Big Mac's supposed to be the same. The fries are supposed to be the same. The drink's supposed to be the same, because we're all following the same systems, routines, processes. So if you're going to start a business, the first thing you really need to do, you don't need to go raise money. You don't need an LLC. None of that. You need to find the mentor that is someone you're going to go work with for at least 18 months, that's an expert in the field in which you want to work, and learn from them. Because as you go along, you're going to make a whole lot of mistakes. And if you can learn for 18 months, you might be able to miss or skip over 5-10 years worth of mistakes, and the mistakes that make 90% of businesses that start go bankrupt in the first 7 years. So it's like you can avoid that by learning from someone else first. But most people are a little too impatient. You get anxious, and you're like, gosh, in a year from now I want to be here, and 2 years from now I want to be here. But you're not ready to be the leader that's going to take the business to where you want to go. even today, I now have over 1,000 employees. And so as the leader, I have to be a better leader than I have ever been. Because I'm not leading 300 people or 500 people. I'm leading over 1,000 people, $75 million of revenue annually. And if I'm not the best leader that I can be, then I'm not going to be able to run the business the best way that it can be ran today. Even though it's the same business I've been doing for almost 30 years. It's still just McDonald's. But I have to improve every day as a leader, because my business is changing and growing, and if not, I won't be able to keep up.
Yeah, probably prioritizing. I mean, your decisions now that you make are probably totally different than you made 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
100%.
Yeah, because you're now making the big decisions, and how cool that your dad was able to kind of relinquish that over to you and let you. He probably has he admitted, like, yeah, Mark knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah, he does once in a while. Yeah, he will actually quite often come and tell me he's proud of me and that he loves me and he's grateful for me. But on the same side, he'll then look over to my sister. Gosh, I wish he would do this, or gosh, I wish he'd do that. And it's totally awesome and totally fun. But what I'm extremely grateful for is the hard work and dedication he put in was able to get me and my family to where I could then take it to the next level. And my goal is for my kids that they take everything that we've created and go to the next level. And so every day, like, my greatest work that I do is with my kids and with my family, right? That is your legacy. That is the thing that you're going to be remembered of. It's not going to be how many burgers, fries, and shakes that you've served. It's going to be who are your kids, who are your grandkids, and so on, and who do they become as people and in the community. So that is my greatest work. That's what I work on just as much as my business. So
I have a question for you, because I've got a brother-in-law that has a family business, and he's the third generation. Now he's passing it on, right?
Ooh.
And none of his kids wanted to do it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, none of his kids wanted to do it, and it's like a 40 million a year business. Yeah. And they didn't want to, they're just like, I want to do my own thing, Dad, so he had to honor their, wishes, and obviously they're going to learn, the hard way. I'm looking from the outsider going, what the heck?
Why would you give up a $40 million business? And you might just be the one, and you get it all for yourself instead of if the others don't want to participate.
So my question is, you probably know what the question is what if, your kids decide, like, Dad, you've been doing McDonald's. It's not for me. I want to do my own thing. So how will you go about accepting that, or obviously you're breeding them to and helping them and mentoring them to hopefully they'll take that step because it's been very successful for you. But what if they say, it's just not for me?
And that's really interesting that you bring that question up, because it's something that I've just recently started moving to my next step. So my oldest, he's 16. My youngest is 7. And so I've started, all 5 of my kids today say they want to own McDonald's restaurants. So I'm like, great. So I need to own at least 20 so that each one can have 4. That's the way I look at it. Yeah. So that's still what I'm working on today. And then, but I want them to be a part of the family business. For me, a college education is not what it used to be. Like, you can learn from anywhere, anything that you need to. I was a McDonald's owner before I got my bachelor's degree, before I got my MBA. So I went and got those things after. But to be honest, McDonald's taught me everything I needed to know, every single thing. So for my kids, I want to be a part of the family business because I want to have that influence, and I want them to be close, and I want the grandkids to be close. So part of it's selfish. And 2 is one of the reasons I wanted to do McDonald's is because I wanted to build on what my dad did. So he did really 2 things. He broke us out of a non-religious type environment. Like they didn't know where they were doing religiously, which your religious are your big fundamental beliefs on who you want to be. All right. When I go and talk at universities, there's 2 things that I talk about. Who do you want to be, and how do you want to make your money? And so who do you want to be is, usually it comes from your religion and your beliefs there. Who do you want to be? And then how do you make your money? That's usually your career, where you're going to invest, and so on. My dad was the one that broke the cycle on both of those for my family.
Wow.
When I look at his brothers, when I look at his parents, his mom had him at 15 years of age. She was pregnant at 15. She was barely 16 when my dad was born. So you want to talk about, like, he was picking cotton and okra and all this in the farms of Georgia. Like, he grew up as poor, and yet, because of his work ethic, I mean, it was really work ethic that he decided that he was going to break that. So then the religious side to decide who he wanted to be, and then the career side, how he was going to make money. He broke those.
Wow.
So that vision now, I have to tell my kids and teach my kids, say, look, this is who we are. So first of all, the last name Parish is very important to us. We have one of the sayings we say is we are Parish. We say it to each other all the time, and what that means is we're different. We're special, and therefore the expectations are different. They're higher. They're elevated. Because being a parish, it's not the run of the mill. You can't do average things and be a parish, and part of it is because of what my dad did.
Yeah.
And knowing that he was the first to break it. Now I'm second generation. They're going to be the third and fourth generations. They have to carry that on, carrying on that legacy, because getting from where he got to where we are today, almost impossible.
Yeah.
Like you look at the probability of something like that happening. It's like one in a billion.
Yeah.
And so for that, like my dad is the man, and I have to carry that on, and my kids are expected to carry that on as well.
Nice. And they fill that expectation. So if they came to you and said, I know you have this expectation, Dad, but I'm going to be a parish. I'm going to do extraordinary things, but I'm going to do it in a different way.
No, and that's totally cool. Because I right now I do some real estate too, right? I have, and that's always just been my side hustle. So, right before I went to Iraq, so my wife, we get engaged. We're typical Utah people. We've been dating for 2.5 months. Boom. I popped the question. She says, yes, right? We're from Utah. We're both in college. And anyway, I find out 2.5 months later that I find out 2 months later that I'm going to go to Iraq for a year and a half. I'm going to leave for a year and a half. And it's like, dang. We ended up buying a double-wide trailer home in the city of Mount Pleasant in a trailer court. So I decided to buy it. It had mold, had to gut it, had to get all that out, had to rebuild it. Basically, I would just go to Ace Hardware every day, and I would ask questions, then I'd buy the stuff, and I'd go do it. And it was awesome. Like, great learning experience, okay? But as I'm doing this, it's like, if my kid says, hey, I want to be a part of that, I don't care which way they find success. For me, I have business principles, and those business principles I relate to my family principles. One of my business principles is micromanage until there's trust. So I am going to help and assist my kids in any way. If they want to go and start some other type of business, and they want to do real estate, or say they want to be a stock investor, or they want to try and be a podcaster, YouTuber, whatever it's going to be, I'm going to help them. I'm going to teach them, coach them. I might have to offer some financial assistance, but there's going to be a little bit of micromanagement until I decide that there's enough trust in them knowing what they're doing there to build it. But today, I would love to have one of my kids be the real estate arm of the Parish family business. I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love for somebody to be the McDonald's side. I would love for someone to go and, because there's so many great options out there.
Yeah.
And McDonald's is one of the best American brands in the world. But is it the only one? Is it the best one? And just like any other great American brand, is it going to be around forever? I mean, I look at like Sears, I look at BlackBerry, right? Remember BlackBerry? It was on every single movie. They're like, hey, I'm just playing on my BlackBerry. Hey, my BlackBerry.
Gone.
And then all of a sudden, boom, blown up, gone, disappeared, and never coming back. So I am not ignorant to the fact that McDonald's is a great brand today, has been a great brand, but it may not be. And so do I want my kids to be able to, and I want them to be able to build and have success in their own. I really do. So yes, the family business is really, if you look at what we're trying to achieve, it's who we want to be, and then that's the most important part, right? Who do you want to be when you grow up, and then how do you want to make your money? Those two questions that I already talked about.
Yeah.
It's really about question number one. Who are they going to be when they grow up? So if they want to be a certain type of person that fits within my framework, then I'm going to help them. And then however they want to make their money, I'm going to help them with that because they're the type of person. Yeah. And so really we have these conversations about money and finances a lot, and it probably drives them nuts. But I say, look, guys, this money is not ours. We're stewards of the money. The money is going to go whoever is going to use it to build up God's kingdom, because really this is His. These are His. And so if you want to use it to build up God's kingdom, then I'm going to support you with it. If you're not, if you go get addicted to drugs, you go do this, then guess what? You're out. right? It's going to go where it's intended to go. And so very thoughtful, but there's lots of communication about that and constant communication about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting stuff, but they can do anything.
And that, I mean, I've raised 5 kids, and I've kind of been up and down, entrepreneur, worked for somebody, corporate America and everything, but I've really instilled in my kids, like, hey guys, you can do anything you want to be. And kind of that same principle without really knowing that I was even teaching those principles, and that's what they've become. They're good people, but they're all doing it a different way.
Awesome.
And it's awesome to see it. I mean, it's just, it's crazy to see, my kids kind of just, they're on their own, and it's just fun to watch that. I mean, you'll get to experience that as your kids get older and stuff. And obviously you have that experience in the past from your dad, right?
Yep.
And so you'll probably do it way better than your dad and you did it, because you'll remember that going, you know what? I need to let go now. This is where I put the support in, and I love them, but they're going to have to make a few mistakes here and there. But I will. For sure. I'm going to coach them and teach them everything that I can, and then they're going to get the opportunity to move on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're experiential learners.
Yes.
And so a lot of people will be like, they'll come and ask you a question like, how do I make money? And you think about it, if you want to give them the answer, like the best way to give an answer is to tell a story, so that there's an emotion and attachment, and then people will hopefully feel inspired to go and do the work.
Yeah.
But if you just said, go buy real estate, they're going to be like, well, of course I'll go buy real estate, but how do I do it? And so you have to, we're experiential learners.
Yes.
And so our kids have to learn from experience. As a dad, and this is the same as a boss, I have to provide those experiences for my people to learn and for my people to grow. So you're 100% on that track.
I mean, we used to sell apricots. You know, when the kids were young, they'd go pick them on our yard, take the apricots, go out on a busy road, and then they would sell the apricots. And they knew it was awesome. I mean, they knew that, hey, I got the product for free, but okay, we're going to sell some pops, and we're going to sell this, and we're going to sell the apricots for this much, and hey, let's go to the grocery store, check out how much they're selling per pound. They'll sell a little bit cheaper, because since we got them for free. And anyway, and yeah, it's fun. It's fun to have your kids experience those things, because you think they're sometimes you don't think they're sticking, but they actually do. The more you talk about it,
they totally are.
Yeah,
and it's amazing, because you have a teenager and they know everything, and they will tell you how little you've actually helped them, and how just from time to time. I've actually only had that comment maybe once or twice, right? But I know, and they know that I know that. Gosh dang it, I've helped them a whole lot and taught them a lot. But like even today, in a business you report back. You have a monthly report, right? Don't you? That you send to your boss and you say, "Hey, this is what I've accomplished this month." My kids have the same thing.
Oh,
they have a monthly report card.
They get.
Yeah, they do.
That's cool.
And so basically, it's like you start at the top. What book am I reading? How many pages have I read since the last end of the report? And it's like, well, here's a recap of my short-term goals, my long-term goals. Here's what I've done to work on them. They're all involved in music. They're all involved in soccer. So it's like, this is how many times I practiced guitar or piano. I'm having them all learn a second language, so they're using the app Babbel. This is how many lessons I've covered in the last month. So all of them,
awesome.
they all have a monthly report card.
You're coaching them. You're parenting, but you're also coaching them.
Dude, every time and it's amazing, because I put a lot of thought into it for my kids, but then as I do it and I say, gosh, because I'm always reading leadership books, right? You're always reading something, and it's like, man, that's going to work at business. So if it's going to work in business, it's also going to work with my kids. And I don't want my kids to feel like our family life is a business, but I want them to know that, gosh dang it, their mom and their dad love them so much that they're going to give them everything they can in order for them to see a better way to learn and grow. And obviously I'm easier on my kids than I would be for somebody that I'm paying, but in some ways I'm also harder on my kids, because the expectation is so much greater, because I know that they're getting it at such a young age. Like they have videos that they watch of podcasters that they're supposed to watch to learn lessons. I have a reading list that they read from the age of 5.
They buy into it then.
Yeah, and they have no choice. So like they'll go to school and they'll come home with a book from their teacher, and I'm like, no. Go tell your teacher that's not one of the books we're going to read. If they want a book report, you'll give them a book report, but it's going to be one of Dad's books. And they know that. And they'll go back to their teacher and say, hey, sorry, my dad wants me to read this book instead. Is that okay? Because all of my books are teaching something about U.S. history, or they're teaching about business or leadership or entrepreneurship. They're not just a fun book to read. And that's really me pushing hard, right? Because time is so limited.
Yes.
My kids need to grow. I need to grow. And the only way to do it is by doing the things that are a little tougher, you know?
Yeah, you can instill that in them, like you said, from a get-go, and it's amazing. So intentional parenting works.
Intentional parenting works, right? But in order to be intentional, you have to have that vision at the end. And a lot of people don't create that vision. Who do we want to be? What do we want to be? Right? Remember, I said there's 2 questions. Who do you want to be? And 2, how are you going to make your money? But most people don't think about the who do they want to be. And once again, so it's like somebody has to have that vision. And as the dad, there's 3 things that you're supposed to do. You provide, protect, and preside, right? But as you preside, that is it. You've got to help paint that vision. And you, obviously, with your spouse, you're going to sit down and say, okay, what is our vision? What is the main thing we're going to talk about? And then what principles do we have aligned around it? We have a family constitution. I don't know if that's something you knew about, but on my wall, in my family room, Parish Constitution, Article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and all of them are like, how are we going to like be involved in the community? What is the relationship between family members supposed to look like? What do we do when we have guests over? How are we going to treat our money? What part does religion play in our lives? All of that is in our Constitution.
Nice.
Once a week. Oh, so one of the questions on that report card every Sunday, what parts of the family Constitution have you been studying this week? What can you tell me about it? And so on. And it's like, but it's creating like, this is who we are, guys. Remember I said we are Parish, and that means something? But if you say that with your family and you say, hey, look, we're the Andersons. Okay, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to be an Anderson versus be a Parish? My kids know we've got a mission statement. We've got the vision that's painted out. We've got the Constitution. So they know what it means to be a parish and what it means to, because then they see all the other kids that are not parishes and they know the difference. And most of the, a lot of times they're not very excited about the difference because it means work.
Yeah.
Right? It means work.
Yeah.
The beginning of the year. Right? January 1st. Most people, they set some goals, they write some stuff down. So my goals and my kids' goals are on that report card every single month, right? Every month we're talking about their goals again and saying your goals are to get you to where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and so on. We do a vision board.
Yeah.
How many people do a vision board? Right?
Yeah, not very many.
No, not anymore. And magazines, they're crazy expensive now. Like every time I have to go into Walmart to do this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to spend $200 on magazines just to get a few pictures. So there's that. And so what I tell my kids is the same thing. So those 2 questions. Who do you want to be? And how are you going to make your money? So there's one vision board, and usually it's going to be a bunch of quotes, or it can be mentors or leaders, pictures of their faces. So you have a quote, like one of my business principles is, when performance is measured, performance improves. When performance is measured and reported, the rate of improvement accelerates. Okay, so I just have quotes like this, or we must be comfortable being uncomfortable. So all of these little quotes that say who I want to be. And all of my kids have these quotes saying who they want to be. And then on the other vision board, it's like, all right, the picture of the Ferrari, the airplane, the apartments, whatever it is. But the things that you want to have. But it's who you want to be, and then how are you going to make your money, and what do you want to have type thing.
Because if you're the right person, then money just, I don't know, maybe you've heard that before, where as you, what's the word? It creates, as you get money, it enhances what you already were.
Oh, for sure.
So,
100%.
like if you were selfish or whatever and you get more money, you're just going to be more selfish. But
it exaggerates, it accelerates. But
if you're already giving and charitable and you get more money, then it just becomes, you become more of that person.
Yeah.
But like to take your point taken with, it starts in parenting. And I can just see you doing, did you learn a lot of this stuff though from like the McDonald's franchise and like these goal setting and all this kind of stuff?
100%.
Vision board, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, when you think about where it came from as McDonald's, so my dad was my mentor, right? And he taught me things, and he's like, you should always be reading books. And I remember listening to like Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar in the car when we were kids on the little cassette tapes. Not 8-track. It was the cassette tape after 8-track, right? And so he made us listen to that stuff. So reading and always trying to learn from someone was always a part of it.
I love that.
Right? So that was always a part. And then he would obviously give advice, but he was very much an intuition decision maker. So he would go off of his gut feeling. He would look at a situation, harness whatever his gut said and say, boom, that's what we're going to do, right? And he would look at some data and stuff, but I'm much more analytical.
Okay.
So I've been able to see the intuitive part, and trust me, I use intuition all the time, right? It's just, does that feel good? All right, let's do it. But then I'm going to slow down the process just a little bit sometimes in order to look at some data, see what's been successful historically, and so on. So there's definitely been a difference there, which has been really cool. But always learning and growing from my dad. Yeah. And then, but then books today, like you think a book is an interview with that person. So if you say, man, who's a successful guy? Well, Elon Musk is a successful guy, right? He's probably going to be the first American trillionaire. And so you say, man, wouldn't I love to spend some time and ask Elon Musk some questions? Well, great. He just came out with a book last December. Why don't you read his book? Every time you read a book, you're learning or interviewing one of those people. So I tell my kids, one of my things on my wall, leaders are readers, right?
Yeah.
And so my kids, I told you, they have a book list that they go through. And so by the time my kids are 12, they've read a book by Dave Ramsey. Like right now, my 13-year-old, she's reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Yeah. My 16-year-old, he's reading Choose Your Enemies Wisely by Patrick Bet-David. And then what is she? She's 11. So she's reading... oh gosh, it was a Rush Limbaugh series. Anyway, it's a Rush Limbaugh series. There's 5 of them, but it's all about history. Yeah. It's all about U.S. history from a perspective. There's a little bit of fiction as a part of history. So everybody's got their books that they're reading through, but it's really interviewing someone who is great that you want to get counsel from. And you know, one of the lessons you teach your kids is you should only accept counsel or criticism from people with whom you're willing to trade shoes. Because, you know, a lot of times people will make fun of you. They'll say you're fat. They'll say you're slow. They'll say you're not good at something. And I say, well, is that someone you'd go to seek counsel? Like, if you were looking for advice, is that the person you would go to? If it is, then you should accept that. And you should say, okay, maybe I am a little fat. Maybe I do need to get a little bit better. But if you're not willing to accept the criticism or switch places with them, then you need to ignore it. And that's the same thing when it comes to advice. Like, you're reading a book. If it's somebody you're willing to switch places with, like if it's about rocket ships, would you be willing to trade your brain and your knowledge about rocket ships with Elon Musk? Of course you would. Or electric cars? Of course you would. Or solar? Of course you would. Because Elon Musk knows way more than we do. And so anytime you're reading a book, all you're doing is having an interview with that person, and it's someone that you're trying to learn from and grow from. It's awesome.
And I like that you follow up and ask them what they learned.
Yeah, I do. Well, and it's on their report card. How many pages did you read? And every day, so they also, this is kind of like, it sounds like I'm micromanaging the heck out of them right now in my head as I'm talking about this, but they have a daily schedule. So only in the summertime, we also create a daily schedule. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they go through and they say, I'm going to perform these activities Monday, these on Tuesday, these on Wednesday, these on Thursday, right? And so on their list, it's like, I'm going to read for 10 minutes. I'm going to go do this program for soccer in order to become a better soccer player. It's an exercise program. I'm going to do one lesson on Babbel for 10 minutes and so on, right? Those are the things that they do. But that's who you become. That's how you become who you want to become. Yeah. We are what we do on a daily basis. Yes. Whatever you do on the daily, that's who you are. So when you say leaders are readers, well, do you read daily? Yeah. Like, are you kind? How do you show kindness daily? Yeah. Are you someone who's organized and clean? Well, what do you do to organize and clean daily? Right? Those are like, you are what you do on the daily. So for me, it's like, and this goes back to McDonald's, right? Yeah. Or the military, wherever you want to say it came from. But you have a certain time you wake up every day. You have these systems, these processes, these routines, and all they are is things that you repeat day after day after day after day. 80% of your day today, or 80% of your thoughts today, you had the exact same thoughts yesterday. 80%. So it's like, really, there's not a whole lot of new stuff going on. So, but if that 80% is not good, then you're going to repeat that today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So if it really comes down to 80% of your day is going to be repeated from the day before, make it great, so that you actually turn to be someone different, someone better tomorrow than what you were today. And that all comes from the daily and the weekly routines.
The consistency. I mean,
oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been up and down in business and stuff, and what I found is there is no secret sauce in business. It's consistency. and it's doing those little things.
That is the secret sauce.
That is the
doing the
secret
right
sauce.
thing every single day, even though it sucks. Yeah,
and then pivoting. If something's not working, you just change it and find a different solution and keep trying that.
And that's exactly what creates success, because a lot of people, they'll try something and first of all they quit too easy.
Yes.
And then when they quit, they're like, well, I'm not exactly sure what I was doing, because I was doing a little something different every day anyway, so I'm not sure why it was successful or not. See, at McDonald's, we do everything step by step. Step 1 is this, step 2 is this, step 3, step 4, step 5. So if something's not wrong, now you can look at one of those 5 steps and say, okay, which one of these steps do we think we need to tweak? And then we can actually tweak that one little step, and we can wait a month and see if the outcome changed. And if the outcome changed and it got better, great. If it got worse, it's like, all right, well, let's go back to where we were and then let's rethink it. But if you don't have a process or a routine that you're following every day, when you start tweaking or changing something, how do you know if it's good or bad? How do you know? Because you can't measure it. Remember one of the business principles I said in the beginning, it's the long one. When performance is measured, performance improves. When performance is measured and reported, the rate of improvement accelerates. So I have business principles, and this is one of them. So you have to measure and report in order to improve, but you have to know what you're measuring, and therefore you have to have processes. Routines you repeat daily.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. I found the secret sauce for me personally has been a business coach. So hiring a business coach has been a game changer for me, because I have to report back.
I know.
On the daily with him. So, Monday through Friday.
Holy crap.
Yeah. It's we do like a 10-minute call every day, 15-minute call, and he makes sure, that I'm following my consistent actions that I'm doing every single day that I said I would do, both business and personal. So he's like and it works great for me because I'm not relying on like a parent or a sibling or a spouse or something like
emotion.
That. Yeah, there's no emotion, and he just holds me accountable, and I'm like, okay, I
love it.
He's like, and if I don't do it, he's like, well, what can you do? Well, can you do twice tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, I guess I could.
I guess since I didn't do it today, I have to, right?
So it's been a great thing for me, and because there are some people, I think there's a small percentage of people that are self-motivated and can just do stuff, But you probably still need accountability, don't you?
We all need a boss.
Yeah.
We all need something to hold us accountable.
Yeah.
So I also pay for a mentor. So a guy that I mentioned earlier, the Patrick Bet-David, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, and then he also had Your Next 5 Moves. He just 2 books. But he's a big podcaster type guy. I pay him a lot of money, and I meet with him once a month, and I get 15 minutes, and that is it. But then I also get like one of his guys that helps, and we have pre-calls and we have post-calls, and we talk about action items and stuff like that. And actually, that's where I receive a whole lot of the benefit from is from him and his counsel and his advice, because he's always being influenced by this guy, Patrick Bet-David, as well. But we always need someone to challenge us to be better, because complacency is something that kicks in any moment, any day, and it's wicked crazy, right?
It's so true. Oh my gosh, it's so true.
Well, and the hardest thing about complacency is, if you would ask me, so right now I'm 43 years old, if you would ask me 20 years ago and said, Mark, all right, so we go back to those 2 questions, who do you want to be and how much money do you want to make, or how do you want to make your money, and so on, I would have said, gosh, if I could just get to $3 million, I'd retire and I'd be done and I wouldn't work again. And then things have grown. And so now I don't have a number. I don't ever plan on having a number, because I have just continued to work and drive and grind, because that's where I find joy and happiness. Joy and happiness does not come about by having money in a bank account, by having a big house, by having fancy cars, by having a private airplane, all things that I have. But joy and happiness does not come from that. It really doesn't. It's about waking up every single day and creating some type of success. And creating something, being better version of yourself today than it was yesterday. So complacency, though, like a lot of people will be like, because once you get to that 3 million, if that's in your head, you're going to be like, all right, I'm done. I'm done. I don't have to do anything anymore. I don't have to be the person that got me to this point. And then right there, that's when everything falls apart. You have to wake up every morning with a purpose. And that's, so with my kids right now in the summertime, I'm like, guys, what time are you going to bed? So every night before they go to bed, they're supposed to look at their their daily schedule for the next day and say, all right, I want you to go to bed and I want you to wake up and know what your purpose is, right? These go for your goals of the things you want to do. So you're going to wake up with them. And so every morning I'm up, I wake up naturally between let's say 5:45 and 6:20 every day. Just I wake up because I have a purpose every morning. There's something I have to do. And for me, do I need to go make more money? No, but I want to. Because the more money I make, then the more influence I can have for good in the world. Money is used so much right now for evil and wrong. So I want to be able to counteract that by being able to create as much as I can. And then the people who work for me, do you realize where they've come from? Like what type of lives they have, what type of parents they have, what type of atmospheres and where they're coming from? Like there is so much they can learn from working for me at McDonald's restaurants that is where I honestly find the joy and happiness. Today, we just here in town, we're at our office, we have 30 people that we're teaching to be shift leaders. I get to show up and I get to talk about basically kind of the same conversation we're having right now. It's they ask questions, I give answers. Hopefully they take notes. Hopefully they learn and they become someone better tomorrow than they were today because of it. And really, that's where my joy comes from. So it comes from doing it with my kids, and it comes from doing it with my people that work for me in my restaurants. I know that these guys aren't going to have a career with me at McDonald's, right? They're going to work for me 1, 2, 3 years. I mean, I have people that have worked for me for over 25 years, so don't get me wrong, right? It happens, but I know it's rare. My job is to prepare them for them to achieve whatever they want to achieve in 10 years from now as best as I can. So I have these McDonald's restaurants in which I have the ability to teach, train, coach, turn them into leaders, teach them processes and systems as best as I can. And while they're at McDonald's, my gosh, I'm going to try to teach them everything I can about this so that wherever they go, whether they become parents, whether they don't, whether they go on to other businesses, they're going to be more prepared than they were when they came to McDonald's in the first place.
And they could be that one in their family that your dad was and break away.
I hope
because
so.
I'm sure there's a lot of those that are down in the, they're in the lower echelon of poverty or whatever, working at McDonald's, but there's younger people as well that inspire to maybe own a business someday. And
I know.
That's where like I said, that's where the joy is coming from. I sense
100%.
from you. Yeah, it's not like, I can make all this money. It's like, wow, I can actually help somebody create something, and I have a purpose every single day to do that. That's where the joy, I feel that joy coming from doing that, just helping people.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just, because, the money's great and you can have a greater influence. So, you want to earn some more money, but the money just comes naturally as you do these things and become more and more who you are. But I'm always amazed how people that don't like personal development and getting better, I'm kind of dumbfounded if I share like a quote or something from somebody, like I said, an Ed Milet or Tony Robbins or something, they just make fun of it. And I'm like, who are you? What's your purpose in life?
I know.
And that's an inspiring quote, isn't it? And they're
vision.
It's crazy.
Where's their vision? Who do they want to be? Anyway, but you're 100% right. So as we've talked a lot about my kids today, sorry, I didn't know how much you want to.
No, that's good.
We've talked about a lot of them and who I want them to be, right?
Uh-huh.
But then when I go to my the people inside of my restaurants, I want to help them. So I have one of my supervisors today. So she's over 5 restaurants. She just shared with me that she bought her first condo. So she bought a real estate investment outside of her primary home.
Wow.
And that was counsel and advice that I had given her.
Oh, wow. That's
and so we have actually worked through her personal budgets, how she was going to invest for retirement, and so on. I had another employee come to me today and say, hey, I want to be a McDonald's owner-operator in the future. And so today I gave her a little bit of counsel and advice to help her get on that path. I have people that own restaurants here in town that used to work for me. They came and worked for me for years, and they told me while they were working for me, hey, I want to open my own place one day. And I said, awesome. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the steps that I want you to learn. Here's the things I want you to achieve so that when you do, you're ready for it. Because all I want is for them to be successful.
Yeah.
And as they're getting ready to go out of my organization and do their own, they're going to help make me successful while I'm helping make them successful and preparing them for their next step. And so that is honestly where joy of life comes from.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's people think that this facade of money, and you always hear like they get that Ferrari or they get that big house, and then they're just like, it just wears off like a new pair of shoes. You
Oh,
know?
it totally does. You have to clean it.
Yeah, yeah. You have to pay the insurance,
dude. And you park the Ferrari. I've never had a Ferrari, right?
Yeah.
I've never really wanted a Ferrari. But you imagine where you're going to park in the parking lot to make sure that no one scratches it or dings it.
You're right.
And then the first time somebody does, you're just going to be like, oh, why do I have such a fancy car? Because that way. Anyway, so yeah, totally.
And it would be more fun to have a Ferrari to give it away to somebody that
Super
reached
awesome.
a certain goal.
Super awesome.
You know, I mean, stuff like that. I can see that's where a lot of that joy comes from. Is just
honestly.
helping people. So maybe you've shared a lot of different things that you've done, but has there been a time when you had to make tough decisions, you know, for your franchises, and what was the outcome?
Oh.
I mean, maybe COVID or something. I mean, that was probably a rough moment.
Yeah, no, every single day, because we are who we are, and it's very difficult. And it's very difficult to separate who you are. And so me, I'm a franchisee, right? So that does give me a lot of leverage and freedom, but I have a framework inside of the McDonald's brand that I have to stay inside. Yeah. So I am my own boss, but I'm also not my own boss. And I figured that out with COVID. So when COVID came around, McDonald's said, hey, every employee has to wear a mask and you have to put up all this plexiglass everywhere. And I'm like, well, shoot, that sucks because I don't want to. I said, I don't want to wear a mask and I don't want to put a plexiglass, because you think about it, we're in the customer service industry. And so now there's this barrier between you and I, and we're like poking our heads down through the holes trying to talk. So like, you're not protecting anything because we're trying to talk through the stupid hole. And now we're both getting closer to that stupid hole so you can hear me and I can. Anyway, so I got in trouble with the CEO because I ignored that. Somebody and he's in Chicago, right? And somebody came through one of my restaurants and said, hey, they're not wearing masks and they're not putting up plexiglass. So I got in trouble for it. Anyway, there's stuff like that, but it makes life extremely awesome and fun because you get to decide the goal of one of the goals is to create the freedom. And you want personal freedom. And that's one of the benefits of money is now you have the freedom to choose. I have the freedom to go to work every day or not. I have the freedom to retire or not. I have the freedom to help and assist, like in political campaigns right now. It's a major political season. I have that freedom to be able to do those things. That's where money comes in, is just because it gives you freedom. And so, and being an entrepreneur, you get freedom. But guess what? You don't have absolute freedom. If you do something that's wrong, the customer will punish you for it. If, as a franchisee, if I do something wrong, my franchisor is going to punish me for it. So there is never absolute freedom as long as you're trying to achieve anything. Someone is going to tell you whether that was a good idea or a bad idea, and usually it's the customer. In this case, I did some. Franchisor got a little upset. Not too big of a deal. But that kind of stuff's always going on. Always. There's politics in everything. Politics in McDonald's, there's politics in high school sports, there's politics in church, there's politics everywhere. So the goal is, knowing that, how do you play the game? How do you be the best politician you can be? Because we all have to be. Right? And it's the same thing with money. Money is just a game. So let's learn the rules of the game and learn how to win at the game of money as best we can. It's just, can you be good at chess? Can you be good at Monopoly? Can you be good at money? Yes, you can. You just have to learn the rules.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I know you talked about how the processes and everything that McDonald's has. So, but how do you ensure consistency and quality across all the McDonald's locations? I mean, how does McDonald's even do it like worldwide? How do they? Amazing. Yeah, I mean, I've been to a McDonald's in the Philippines. No, it was a McDonald's, and they serve chicken and rice, you know.
Oh yeah, they totally do.
And because that's just part of the culture and stuff. But anyway, so how do they maybe give us a little insight on that, the McDonald's culture and how they keep that consistency? The
really cool thing about McDonald's is, and so I've told you, wherever I go, I always go eat at McDonald's. And inside of the United States, it's basically the same stuff. The only place that has a few things different is Hawaii, by the way. They have spam and eggs in the morning and rice, and then they deep fry their pie like we used to. So if you ever go, there's kind of a few differences. But then around the world, McDonald's always customizes to the culture and to the taste of that natural. But then they also have the Big Mac, they have the quarter, their fries are basically the same. Anyway, but it's all about the systems and processes. So McDonald's, they have a way. So when we cook our meat, you have to lay the grill, or the meat on the grill, starting on the right side from the front to the back. and then you move to the left and you go from the front to the back. And it's so that if you're not there when that meat is done cooking, the next person who's going to come and pull the meat off the grill is going to pull it off in the same order, so that every piece of meat gets cooked for the same amount of time and therefore has the right amount of juiciness. And so you think there's a reason for it. Is if everybody does it their own way, but then they're not there for a part of the process, and the process is going to get messed up.
I see.
Right? So we have to make sure that the fries are cooked, and when they're placed inside of the cooking oil, that first of all, the cooking oil is within the right temperature, plus or minus 5 degrees, but the fries were the same temperature when they were put into the oil, so that it has, right? And there's just every single process and procedure is written down, and that's that intentionality, right? How do we take, and we're not very good at hospitality, right? We're a service company. That's where I'm trying to be better, and that's where I want to specialize in with my McDonald's restaurants is hospitality. But anyway, right now we're service guys, right? So it's how do you make an ice cream cone, and how big should the ice cream cone be, and what should it look like? We have step by step by step by step by step on exactly how to do it. Now, the thing is, we're working with all new people all the time. So does it get messed up a lot? Sure it does, right? But we're always trying to improve on it. But there is a perfect ice cream cone that they know what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to have 3 swirls, and it's supposed to be 3 ounces, and it's supposed to, right? And that's just, they all know that. But that's what we do. So, but it all starts with knowing exactly what the expectation is, and then here are the steps. And McDonald's has spent tons and tons of money saying these are the best steps. So we really, really, really recommend that you follow these steps, because these are the best steps. And if you want to have the best outcomes, follow these steps. Anyway, that's
they kind of force your hand a little bit to follow the steps.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and so they're always coming inspecting us. They've got. They've
secret shoppers or whatever?
No, so we don't, we know who they are. Oh. They work for McDonald's, and they will come in and they will go through our drive-thru. They'll go order out in the parking lot where we walk the food out to them. They'll order and get table service. They come and order, and then they walk in the back of the kitchen, and they're checking all the processes, right? And all they're doing is saying, are the processes being followed? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And if not, they'll know because something was messed up, right? Because they'll say, hey, this didn't taste right. This tasted a little old. Now they'll go back into the kitchen. They'll find the process that was broken, or the system that was broken that led to that not tasting right. Or we did not get our napkins as a part of our order, so we're going to go find the part of the system that was broken and go and work on the system.
I see.
It is all about systems, right? Yeah. And then it's also then going through the layers of the people and saying, all right, well, this is the person that made the mistake. Well, why did they make the mistake? Have you ever heard of the 5 whys? Basically, you're trying to find the root cause. So it's like, all right, let's play the game of 5 whys. Why weren't there napkins in the bag? Okay, that's the first why. Well, and then you go ask the crew person, did you know you're supposed to put napkins in the bag? Why didn't you know you're supposed to put napkins in the bag? Or why didn't you know you were supposed to do it? How many napkins were you supposed to? Why didn't you know? So this person didn't train you? Why didn't that person train you? Why? And then this person, why didn't you get trained that this person was supposed to? And anyway, and it's like, well, actually, it's because we ran out of napkins at the station. It wasn't, and so you're basically trying to find the root cause so that all the systems are fixed and everybody understands all the steps that were supposed to be taken in order for that process to work the way it was supposed to work as designed from the beginning. Yeah. So it's, but anyway.
I can only imagine McDonald's was probably the number one process type company. I mean, they probably started the whole thing.
Yeah.
You think?
Have you ever seen the movie The Founder?
I haven't seen it.
Dude, you gotta watch it. Yeah, so
it's called The Founder.
The Founder. It's all about Ray Kroc. It's Michael Keaton, and basically him coming and seeing the McDonald brothers, Dick and Mac McDonald, and them seeing what at the time was called the Speedy System. But they organized the kitchen and how it was going to be, kind of like Henry Ford redid the industrial line. It's like, this is the process and these are the systems. This is going to be the flow of the kitchen to be the most efficient. And then because we're just going to follow that most efficiency, but it was step by step by step by step. And anyway, but The Founder, a great movie. Great movie because it teaches you processes and systems.
Is it on Netflix or what's it? Where is
Netflix movies come and go, so I don't know. I've got it in my house. You want to come borrow?
Oh, you have it on a DVD, DVD or
Blu-ray,
VHS?
Blu-ray,
no, that's. I always kind of wondered the processes that go into place at like a McDonald's and even a franchise in general. I mean, what is it? Is Kentucky Fried Chicken probably one of the big worldwide franchises?
It is. Yep.
Yeah, McDonald's in Kentucky. So, what advice would you give, Mark, to aspiring entrepreneurs interested in business or franchising? and maybe particularly with a well-known brand like McDonald's. So maybe,
sure.
Yeah, so maybe they want to get into, franchising something and what's the do's and the don'ts.
Yeah, I get asked that question quite a bit. So people know that I'm the McDonald's guy, right? They may not remember my name, but they know, hey, that's the McDonald's guy. So they'll come up to me and say, hey, which franchise would you go get involved in today if it wasn't for McDonald's? And I say, well, it would be McDonald's. And they say, well, why McDonald's? Number one. Anyway, but they're always just trying to look for the quick answer. Because honestly, if I wanted to if I was giving advice to somebody today and I really cared about that person, I said, this is going to be your best path for success, I would say, come work for me. Come work and learn the systems, learn the processes, it was kind of one of my initial answers, right? Go work in the business for 18 months. Learn how it works. Learn what a franchisor is supposed to provide. They're supposed to provide the processes and systems, the software, how to do inventory, how to order the correct amount of food, how to make sure that your food doesn't spoil, how to make sure your food is safe for your customers, how to keep the restaurant clean, how to clean your equipment, how to maintain your equipment, how to hire people, how to train people. They're supposed to offer all those processes and systems.
Yeah.
But if you don't know that, people are just like, they're always looking for the quick answer. What franchise do you think would be the best? And it's like, well, gosh, I mean, my answer lately has been, 40% of all franchise growth recently has been in the pizza business. So I guess the pizza business is doing really strong right now. And it is. Like Domino's has done really, really well over the years. Pizza Hut, not so much. But, that's one of the biggest growth. But that's where it usually stops, because people will ask the question, they're hoping for the silver bullet for me to say like Dutch Bros or something like that, and it's like, yeah, we need one of those in town, so I'm going to go open one, and then I'm going to but it's like, no, you got to go understand what they're going to provide, and if that's something that you're willing to do. And then obviously I want to look at the financials, because if you go look at a franchisee, any franchise business, those financials are going to tell a completely different story depending on who it is. And like for an example, you go to Chick-fil-A, you do not have to buy in. So McDonald's, I want to go buy a McDonald's today, is going to cost me $4 million-ish. Okay, my last one cost me $6.35 million for one restaurant. Crazy amount of money.
Is that the one on off the I-15?
No, this one's in Price.
Price.
Yeah, in Price, right?
Wow.
But it's all based off of existing cash flow. So you'd say that one cash flows better than most restaurants. But it's based off of what it's going to do. A new restaurant is a little cheaper. They're about $4 million. So, but anyway, you go and you buy these restaurants, and I have to put that money down, and I have to do it over a 7-year term. You go to a Chick-fil-A, you don't put any money in. They just want you as an operator, and you split the profits 50-50 with Chick-fil-A, which is great, because initially you're making tons of money compared to McDonald's. In McDonald's, I don't make any money years 1 through 7. I probably lose money or subsidize that restaurant for at least 7 years.
Wow.
All right. So as you're trying to grow, but then at the end, I have an asset that I can sell. Chick-fil-A, as soon as you're done, you walk away, there's nothing to sell.
You either save your money or...
That's it, right? But you're making a whole lot more during the process. But then, Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, we both have to give our full-time and best efforts to the brand. I can't go participate in like things that are non-passive, right? I can't go actively open up Popeyes or anything like that, any type of competitor, anything else that would be one of my specialties.
Yeah.
But like, you can go own 30 Subways and never walk into a Subway and never even learn how to be a sandwich artist and make sandwiches. You can do that. You can just be a passive investor. And there's a lot of franchises that are the same way, where you can just be an investor. You don't actually have to run or own and operate. And so there's all these little minute but very important characteristics of each franchise that people just aren't spending the time to learn and understand.
Yeah.
And that's what you should be doing. You shouldn't just be saying, what franchise do we need? What brand do we need? And how can I,
pick something and go work 18 months.
Seriously, go learn, because everything you ever want to learn about any restaurant or any business, we can teach you at McDonald's. Honestly,
really,
we can teach you anything.
That's amazing. So we've talked about a lot of stuff here today.
Yeah, we have.
Maybe a little fun question. If you could have like a historical person work a shift at one of your McDonald's locations, who would it be and why?
So if I could just have anybody,
from
just
the
history,
history, it could
from
be
the
a celebrity, history, anybody historical who would you have come work at your store? And maybe it's a store that's been struggling, so you want to bring somebody else in to kind of get things going.
Yeah, no. So right now it's actually I do. I always have, right. So you always have restaurants performing at different levels.
Yeah.
And you're always trying to level up from wherever you are and get better. But right now, Will Giadera. So he wrote I don't know if I said his last name right, but he. Unreasonable Hospitality. So he had a restaurant in New York. It was the #1 restaurant in the world with like 4 Michelin stars.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, he talks about unreasonable hospitality because you look at it and food is not what makes a restaurant great. Like it matters. Don't get me wrong. It matters, right? And I know we do not make, well, in my opinion, we actually make a very delicious burger, but
I think
we
so.
don't make the best tasting food in the world. And we don't make the healthiest food in the world, right? We have our little niche, but the one thing that you can really separate yourself with is hospitality. So this Will, the guy who wrote the Unreasonable Hospitality, and actually did a little Zoom call with him this morning, me and 100 other people, a little mastermind group, because I want to learn about hospitality, because I want to level up my game at my restaurants. So I need to differentiate myself from everybody else, because that's how I compete, right? I am always competing against the other McDonald's franchisees, and so I have to level up me as a leader to then level up my restaurants. Anyway, I would bring him in because honestly, he looks at everything from the lens of hospitality. It's like, how can we make that experience great? How can we learn something about that person before they come in so that as they come in, we can meet their expectations beforehand, or we can have the lighting right just for them, or we can have the flower, their favorite flower on the table, or we can have their wedding song playing in the background as they eat, or we can, if they have some dessert that they think is really special, but we don't offer that dessert, we're going to go somewhere else and we're going to get it so that we can have it. It's everything hospitable outside of the box. And he, like, just to think about it the way he does and to care about it as much as he does, because for him, it's all about the personal connection. How can we make this special for you? You know, you hear it all the time. People won't remember what you do or say, but they'll remember how you made them feel. He is honestly that guy. Like, he's like, how can I make them feel better? How can I make this experience for them better? See, at McDonald's, most of the time, we're just talking about, well, we want it to be super fast, and we want to make sure they got everything they ordered. And if we can do that, then we're great. But really, there should be more to that. Like, people should walk away with a smile, and that's actually our vision statement. Every customer leaves with a smile. That we want everybody to leave with a smile. We want everybody to say, man, that experience was not just me. It was not just a transaction of getting food and getting a shake and me paying some money for it at a fair value. It was something more. There was a personal connection. So I would bring him in because, dang, his jaw would be so tired because I would just be asking questions. And we'd be sitting down and creating processes and systems and ways that we can kind of create this in our culture, because you've got to be able to build it in, but that's the hardest part about hospitality. For it to be genuine, it can't be a process or a steps, but you have to create processes and steps to then give the empowerment for people to then make those genuine characteristics and connections, right? That's what they need. But anyway, so that's what I would do, because right now,
because
I
McDonald's doesn't offer that, though. They don't really offer like a hospitality course.
But it's so hard to teach hospitality.
Like Chick-fil-A, I would say, this comes to mind because they say that.
My pleasure.
My pleasure. And that really is a hospitable type thing, even though it is a process, and they try to say it most of the times.
Yeah, whoever came up with that was an absolute genius. Yeah. Because not only does it sound very genuine and warm and caring to the customer, but you think you as the employee saying it, my pleasure. You have now told your brain, this is my pleasure. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy serving the customers. I enjoy working here. I enjoy giving the customer what they want. Genius, freaking genius. But it drives me crazy because I wish it would have been us.
Yeah.
Like,
well, maybe you need to come up with your own saying.
Dude, I've been coming up. I've been trying.
You got AI. You got ChatGPT.
Oh, trust me. I asked ChatGPT again yesterday.
Give me 100 ideas on what I could say.
No, I just did 10, but yeah, because I just need one, right? The same thing.
Yeah, that's interesting that you're kind of shooting for that hospitality. So, I mean, I frequent, most of your McDonald's.
Yeah, I appreciate
Beaver,
it.
St. George, Boulevard.
Thank you.
My wife, she's not a big McDonald's fan, but it's nostalgic to me, So it was always a reward given to us, if we did something good. We cleaned the house. Okay, guys, we're going to McDonald's. Oh, I have to tell you a story though. One time, my dad, they did a special for is it George Washington that chopped down the cherry tree?
Yeah.
Okay, so they did a special like it would have been probably the late 70s. McDonald's did, and on President's Day or whatever, George Washington, I think it was probably President's Day, they offered cherry pies for 10 cents.
Yeah.
So for our little activity, on Monday night, we went to McDonald's and my dad ordered, 100 cherry pies, and the process kind of broke down because they weren't ready for it. And it changed the next year. It wasn't 10 cents anymore.
Well, no, they take 12 minutes to cook and then 10 minutes to cool off before you're supposed to give them to the customer. So you're talking, and you can only cook 12 at a time, and you've got 4 rows. So yeah, you can only make 48, and that's going to take 22 minutes. So yeah, you just broke the system, bro. We're not ready for that.
But that's a great story I tell that, that my dad, and we took all those. We each had like 1 or 2, and then we put them in the freezer and then heated them up in the microwave.
So if anybody's mad why you're not getting 10-cent cherry pies, it's this guy's fault right here.
It's my dad. He was always, taking advantage of the system.
Oh, man, that's funny.
Anyway, but no, it's been great. Anything you want to share with us, Mark, that maybe, a budding entrepreneur or a seasoned business person, maybe just give us some words of advice of the business world, and maybe some leaving or some remarks that you can kind of leave here.
Oh yeah,
at the end
I'd love to. There's always a couple things. I believe that everybody needs to have a group of counselors. So people that you can go to when you have questions in life, and you look at the different categories of life. There's religion, there's finance, there's career, there's family. You need to have people that inside of your network. That you can go to for those types of questions. You need to know who is your best person at that, and you need to be willing to go and ask them questions. But you need to have them ready to call and ask. Okay, so you got to have your network of people that you're going to work with.
Like people that you don't necessarily have to pay, or some are paid, some aren't.
Yeah, and this is where a lot of people get nervous, is because some people aren't willing to pay for the advice, right? Mm-hmm. And you do a lot of times get what you pay for. Mm-hmm. Like right now, I've just started to be a part of this thing called Minnect, MINNECT. So it's where people can go and pay for advice from mentors. And so you can write a text and you get charged per text, and you can do like a video call and it's basically paying a mentor, but only piece by piece by piece by piece, instead of saying, all right, I want an hour of your time or 2 hours of your time. It's like, no, I have a 5-minute question. Let's just go ahead and do it for 5 minutes, and here's what I'm going to pay you. So anyway, people aren't willing to pay and invest. And then it's also the same thing. If you're willing to give advice, why would I want to give it to somebody if they're not even willing to like invest a little? Because if I'm going to spend my time and expertise and try to help you, but I know you're not actually you're not even really serious. It's like, hey, what franchise should I launch? It's like, well, how serious are you? Mm-hmm. And because that's my first judgment. Because if you're really serious and you're a friend of mine, I'm going to help you. Yeah. And I'll spend hours. Teaching you, showing you. I'll go through I'll go through everything you want to go through together to help you make the best decision. But if you're just asking for like a silver bullet to kind of, then, those things don't exist. So I'm on Minnect. If anybody has questions and they want to go through, search for me, Mark Parrish, Parrish. Yeah, and you can... and it's not for money. Like, I'm not doing it for money, but I want people who are seriously looking for answers to improve their lives, to improve their families, to improve their generation and the next generation of their families. I would love to help them. So reach out, but that's an easy way. Like, I haven't really done YouTube. I don't do my own podcast. I love to go speak at universities. So if there's anybody out there that would like me to come speak, I'd love to come speak.
Okay.
But because this is where I find joy. Yeah. Awesome. This is where I find joy.
Awesome. So are you hiring at McDonald's?
Yeah. I mean, we always are. So you think about it, I have just over 1,000 employees right now. It takes me 1,200 employees that I have to hire yearly in order to maintain my 1,000. Wow. So I have over 100% turnover. Wow. So it's 120% turnover, right? Easy math. But what it really means is 30 to 40% of my teams inside of the restaurant, they stay. They're the same people. And then the other people, you've got these 16-year-old kids that will come work for the summer and then they leave. So then I have to replace them with someone else. And then you've got someone who's moving somewhere and I have to replace them with someone else. And so I'm always hiring. But even if the economy was where I wasn't looking for new people, I'm always looking to improve my service and to improve my experience for my customer. And usually that means I have to have better people than I have today. So I'm always looking to encourage, inspire, and motivate the people that I have, or find those next generation of people who are really go-getters and they're going to push hard for it. Because I need more restaurant leaders. I need more area supervisors. I need more of my high-level career people as well. And they all start at the bottom. So I'm always looking for great talent.
So it sounds like if a young teenager is listening right now and they want to be able to have kind of a free mentorship, having you as the boss. I mean, obviously they probably wouldn't have you as much, but with 1,000 employees. But I'm sure if they sought you out, you'd probably offer,
of course,
help them out.
Yeah,
so.
And I've done that many times.
That's cool.
And I'm just going to give them the direction, and I'm going to say, okay, go accomplish these steps. When you're done, we'll meet again. Go do these steps. When you're done, we'll meet again, and so on. And that's just how the process works.
Just have them call up Caden and say, "Hey, how does your dad work?" Oh man, he's a drill sergeant.
Yeah, no. they don't want to ask my kids.
No, this has been awesome, Mark. I really appreciate you coming on and be able to talk about this. And we ought to do some more of these in the future.
No, it'd be great.
Do something. And I hope so. If they need to reach out to you, if they want to, have someone come and speak, if someone wants to have you come and speak, what would be the best way to get a hold of you? Email, phone number? What?
So what I would recommend is a really long email address, but southernutahmcdonalds@gmail.com. So all one word, Southern Utah McDonalds @gmail.com.
Okay.
So that goes to my office staff. They'll be able to go through.
Okay.
But yeah, if you say, hey, I'm at Southern Utah University. I'm over the entrepreneurship speaking series. Love to have you come. Oh my, I'll be there in a heartbeat. I will move everything I possibly can move in order to be able to come on the day that you say. I can't move everything, right? I'm not completely flexible and free, but I'll do what I can.
Sounds like you have a passion you have for public speaking, kind of like
when you go in and meet with these kids and you get to share some things and you see that their life's going to be different because of some of the things you shared, dude, it's incredible.
Well, yeah, you probably had that with your dad. Your dad obviously helped you and kept you focused. So incredible. So thanks again, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
Man.
Okay.
Gosh, this was a great podcast with Mark Parrish. I just loved it, and such great advice from such a young entrepreneur, both business and family life and everything in between. So yeah, I thank Mark Parrish for coming on and doing this podcast with me and being able to get some insights. Like I said, not only for business, but also in your personal and your family life that we all try to juggle and work on each day. So hopefully you got something that you can take and implement into your career, your business, your family, your personal life. And thanks again for joining us here on the Jeff Glines Show. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, as well as Threads and YouTube.